That's another song that I worked on very closely with Steve Harris, and it's a song that when he was writing the melodies and everything, he particularly wrote for my voice, and he knew my voice a lot better by the time we did the second album. So that was one. He came in to rehearsals just with a few scratchy notes, and at that time we were working some of the stuff out on an acoustic bass. And he came in, he said, oh, I've got this one idea, I'm not sure. And he started going, and the hills, the cleanse, I said, fucking hell, Steve, that sounds absolutely great, man. That's going to be great, it's going to be fantastic. He goes, you sure? I said, man, that is you. I said, it's got all the hallmarks of a great Maiden song. And he was just he hadn't even finished the lyrics, just a scrappy bit of paper and an idea in his head. He was whistling the melody and everything. And a couple of days later, I was going, what about that idea that you had, the Klansman? Let's try that. And we tried it, and it just felt fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Such an emotional, uplifting song that tells a story. It was brilliant. So I have great memories of that. And again, that's another long song, and you think, well, maybe the fans will be bored or people, but no, everybody absolutely loved it. And the reaction of the fans when we went out and did it live was absolutely incredible, you know. So I've got great memories of that song. And that's another song that, from the Maiden era, that I sometimes do with my own band, because it's a song that I'm very, very fond of, and I'm so proud of being a part of that song.
When you left Maiden, you didn't waste much time in forming your new band, Blaze. What can you say us about it?
Well, Steve Harris said, when I left, he said, you know, get your own band together now. And, you know, he said, I'm sure you have a great future. He said, you've written some great music, and I really think you can make it with your own band. And, you know, don't give up. Don't have this as a blow. You know, use this as a springboard now. Use what you've got, and you know a lot more fans around the world, and all of this. Use this now to get your own band together and make a success of it. And he said, I really believe that you can do it. And so I did. You know, I knew a lot about metal music, and one of the main things that I learnt over the years was that there are thousands of metal musicians who are great, but never get a chance. There are thousands of guys out there who are inspired by metal music to become great musicians, great players, but then unheard of because they've chosen music that isn't pop music, that it's unlikely. In pop music, you don't get guitar heroes like you do in rock and metal. And in pop music, you don't have god bass players and hero drummers.
You need a name.
Yeah. So I thought, well, I know these guys are out there, and I know there are some great metal musicians out there. So all I've got to do is find them and get them in my band. And it's been an ongoing process, looking for people who absolutely love metal and love heavy music and believe in it 100%. And people that believe in the fans, because from the years that I've been in the business and been involved in big record companies and big management and things like this, the thing that always brings me back and keeps me going is the fans. And the more things that get in between the band and the fans, like huge business and this, that and the other, the worse it goes. The best part of being in a band, for me, is when you're actually facing the fans, doing your best, performing at 100%, and signing for the fans and meeting them. Everything else is just bullshit that gets in between and stops what it's really about. It's supposed to be about passion and power and being creative and being able to be free to create your own music, and then for an audience to to understand and appreciate your own creativity. Well, business gets in the way of that, and business says, well, you can't be you can't be creative in this way because it's not going to sell, or we don't think that's going to work, or we don't think this is going to work, or your album cover is not commercial, or the title that you want for your album is totally wrong, and all of that business, and they've got nothing to do with the creative process. And so that's always made me really fed up. But from the point of view of the fans, that's what's always kept me going. The fact that the fans are the ones that really decide who is a good musician. The fans listen, and the fans invest personally in the band when they buy the CDs and T-shirts, when they buy the concert tickets. They make that investment in the band because they believe in it. And so that belief, and the fact I'm so lucky that I've got so many loyal fans, is that's what's really kept me going through the years.
You recorded your first album with Blaze, Silicon Messiah. What can you say us about this album?
Well, at the time I was really concerned about technology and the way that the internet was moving and the way that everything was becoming connected. And it had a lot of resonance for me in early science fiction, and as well as certain things that had happened to me in my own life with leaving Maiden and moving on to my own band. Then Silicon Messiah, though it wasn't a complete concept album, it constantly had a paranoia about it, which said something will try and control us and our freedom. And so that's the central theme of the album, is that from the millions of computers around the world, the millions of silicon chips, that a consciousness of its own arises from that and takes part and almost takes control of our own consciousness, because we surrender our independence and freedom to the silicon chip. And once we surrender that, then, and give up so much of that, then it's like the Chinese who built the first clock. They built the first clock, and they measured the stars, and they had the most accurate systems for measuring movements of planets. But over a generation, then that was lost because nobody knew how to work the clock. They didn't have accurate predictions and stuff like that. So, and then they built a wall instead of being a seafaring nation. And so for me, I thought, well, the world could be like that if we surrender everything, our personal communications and our thoughts. Everything is constantly involved in a silicon chip and goes through a silicon chip. Then eventually we will be a part of that silicon chip. We'll be a part of that computer consciousness, and that will be completely invasive on the planet. And I suppose that general paranoia went through me, and that was the basis for the Silicon Messiah album. And I'd learned so much from Iron Maiden and from Steve Harris about songwriting and everything. I was able to put all of that experience into the songwriting and the production on Silicon Messiah. And so I felt personally it contained my best vocal performances to date were on that album, because of all the experience I had seemed to come together on that.
Mm-hmm. I know there is also a story hidden behind your second album, 10th Dimension. Mm-hmm. In my opinion, your best Blaze album. What can you say about this story?
Well, that is a concept album because it's about government control, and in a way it references Oppenheimer and the way that he built the first atomic weapon. In reality, he didn't build the first atomic weapon. He did the research and made the first atomic weapon possible. And it was his pursuit of pure science and finding out if something could be done. The consequence of that was nuclear weapons. And so I have a deep spiritual belief, in psychic